there's a lot of people that have questions. Are we going to be raptured, or are we going to remain? What's going to happen in the end days? What's going to happen in the days to come? There's people that are asking questions. Is there going to be what is the millennial reign, or is there going to be basically a second chance? Is what I'm going to get into. And there's a lot of people that are very confused of how the end times are going to happen. Now, I'm no expert. I don't claim to know everything. I don't claim to have it all figured out. I don't think any of us do. But I'm going to read some things. I'm also going to reveal some things from past history to present. That there's a lot of things that you probably may or may not have ever seen before, especially when it comes to Daniel. There's a lot of people that want to say, well, right now we're waiting for the last weeks of Daniel to happen. Now, I want to get into this, and I'm also going to share some history. I'm going to share some scripture as well. I'm going to share some things so that you will be able to understand that you have a rest in your soul. You'll have a peace about the things that are going to come. Now, many of us, if we don't have the answers, we can feel restless, okay? And there will be something in our spirit groaning, trying to figure out what is the answers. How, what is the truth? Because you're not at rest until you understand what's going to come. Now, we're not ever going to always figure out everything until Yeshua returns. Jesus returns. But I do want to share some things here. And I'm going to go, this is going to be very important. If you can stay with me, I'm going to reveal a lot for you. And then we go to, where should I start first? Let's go to Daniel. Let's go to Daniel first. We're going to go, and I believe this is going to be very important to give people peace of what's going to come. Now, there's a lot of people that believe, okay, there's going to be a rapture and suddenly we're going to be gone. Well, Matthew 24 is also saying that, two will be in sleeping, one will be removed, the other one left behind. Two will be in the field, one will be removed, the other left behind. Then he says towards the end, the people that are removed will be separated, the wheats and the tares, and the tares will be separated and burned where there's weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. Now that just mess up some of your theologies completely. I get it. And a lot of us are not properly taught. We're not properly taught to read the scriptures the way it is. There's people that are waiting for a third temple right now. But according to the scriptures, I don't care what I've said in the past, guys. I care about where I'm at right now. According to the scriptures, it's not going to be built until Yeshua returns. Now, don't get this messed up. Don't get it misaligned what I'm saying. Oh, that's the Antichrist. Listen, the Antichrist is already here. Like how? His spirit's already here. You're either recognizing it or you're not. The one man, who is he? You got to remember there's three. False prophet, the dragon, and the beast, right? They all work together. It's not just one. But 1 John also says that an Antichrist is one that denies Christ, Yeshua, and doesn't love their brother. Now also, it's denying is also means forsaking, turning away. So he is the word in the law that became flesh. So if you don't have a desire, you don't have a power to obey, and that love is not there for your neighbor and your brothers and sisters, and a love for his word, then you should be questioning, what are you truly following? He said the man of lawlessness would rise up and he would put himself over everything that's called a god or what is worshipped. So what is people worshiping today? Ask yourself. Everything that our eyes can see and hands can touch can become an idol. Whatever is taking us away from that time and that presence with God. Now, I'm going to reveal some things to you right here. You go to the end of Daniel, and I'm going to break this down exactly from history to present, what he's exactly saying. Now, everyone reads this in a present time. They have done that all throughout history. Oh, this right now. It's right now. It's right now. Yes, when the fig tree blooms, this generation will surely not pass away until they see his coming. We are the fig tree generation. Israel was a nation, well, you could say 1948, but declared officially 1967 when they won the war. Now, is that generation passing away? Also, God's people, spiritual Jerusalem, as well as physical Israel, the fig tree is blooming. Fig tree always represented Israel. And it would be a time when people are trying to come back to the covenants of God, the true ways. They're forsaking the pagan ways. They're forsaking their idols and idolatry. They're forsaking sin. They're having the power to come out of it and follow after God's ways with a true love. Now look at here. I'm going to go into Daniel 9 now. He says right here, 70 weeks are decreed concerning your people in the holy city to put an end to transgression and bring sin to an end, to atone for iniquity, which is sin, to bring an everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the Holy of Holies. Now I'm going to break this down. So know and understand from the issuing of the decree to restore and build Jerusalem until the time of Mashiach, Messiah, the prince, in Hebrew they say the anointed one, okay? It's anointed. The prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. It will be rebuilt with a plaza and moat, but it will be a time of distress. And after the 62 weeks, Mashiach will be cut off and have nothing. Now pay attention. I'm going to break this down word for word in every single thing what this means. Then the people of the prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary, but his end will come like a flood. Until the end of the war that is decreed, there will be destruction. Then he'll make a firm covenant. This is what we're seeing all throughout the news, right? The peace treaty. Pay attention. This may or may not save your life. I'm going to break this down. But it will come like a flood until the end of the war that is decreed, and there will be destruction. Then he'll make a firm covenant with many for 1 week, but the middle of the week he'll put an end to the sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abominations will come one who destroys until the decreed annihilation is poured out on the one who destroys. Now, I'm going to break this down. We see that when Nero died, Vespasian in 66 AD took over. He was actually scouting in Jerusalem. He was studying the gates. He was studying the walls. And this is where I'm going to break down history, guys. That's very interesting, pause. I'm going to turn off these comments so I just don't distract anybody. That's amazing. God's Spirit is speaking all throughout the world right now. Vespasian, 66 AD, gave power to Titus, his son. Now, Vespasian was camped out around Jerusalem during that time. He was studying the walls. The walls were somewhat 120 feet high, trying to figure out how they're going to get into Jerusalem. But at that time, Nero died. Nero was also considered at that time the Antichrist. And his name also represents 666. So basically when he died, Vespasian took over, in which he had to leave Jerusalem, go back to Rome, and take power. Now, he gave the power to Titus as leaders of the armies. Now, in 70 AD, the 9th of Av, basically what happened, it came under siege. Remember, Yeshua said, pray that it wouldn't be on Shabbat or in the winter. Remember, he says not to turn back and go back to your house and get anything out. He said, pray that doesn't happen on Shabbat and pray that doesn't happen in the winter. Maybe they weren't praying. He also says, pray that there be a harvest, that there be workers in the harvest. Are we praying for that? Pray that your hearts don't fail you for what's going to come upon the earth. Are we praying that? Now, on the 9th of Av, the Roman eagle standards was a graven image of divine Nero Caesar that was put up in the temple. Under it, troops worshiped both the eagle and Caesar and sacrificed pig over the eastern gate in the Holy of Holies. There's abomination of desecration. Now pay attention, keep paying attention. It was renamed during that time Alia Capitolina. They set up bars, circuses, arcades, markets, and basically to sell stuff. We have supermarkets today, go figure, and theaters. Everything with entertainment, sports, games, gyms, activities that focus on self. Now note, in Jewish times, there was no such thing as sports. It was the foreign nations that grabbed them and seduced them into partaking in these things. What we have today, churches bringing in arcades, games, and sports. Theatrical type stuff of plays, reenactments of all kinds of nonsense with no power. Tell me, how is that saving you? It's making us twice the sons of the devil, but we're sure talking about revival. 135 AD, Hadrian built a temple of Jupiter, ordered circumcision to cease, and expelled the Jews from Jerusalem, and followed the footsteps of Antiochus. Who's Antiochus? I'll get into that in just a minute. Now, he followed the footsteps of Antiochus and made himself an object of worship. Now, in Roman times, they always made the emperors or whoever's leading an object of worship. That's why they had idols and statues. People say, oh, Constantine was Christian, was he? So why did he put a giant statue of himself right outside? It's not Christian, especially when he's killing Jews and people that defended them. And he made himself an object of worship, also built a temple in Lebanon that is still standing today. The same replica. Now, what's very interesting, that there's a replica, right, that is also built, and I'm going to get in this in just a minute, I'll get in that. In 325 AD, Constantine built a church on top of the Temple Mount. Now, there's people that say, no, it's not, it's in the city of David. No, that's Muslim nonsense that they teach you. And Christians are buying right into that. There was a temple in the, because it said no stone will be left on top of another. He's talking about the temple. No stone was left. But he doesn't say anything about the walls. Every evidence, even when the Muslims broke down the artifacts into the Temple Mount and dug down illegally, they were finding all kinds of artifacts that now they sift through the sifting project in Jerusalem. They pull out all these artifacts and they're finding this is from the first and second temple period. So what's very interesting is Constantine built a church right where the temple of Jerusalem or Jupiter was from Hadrian. In 700 AD, the Muslims built the Dome of the Rock, that golden shrine that needs to be shipped back to Mecca. Now, we see that Hadrian's Jupiter temple and the Muslim mosque and the dome matches the same shapes as Hadrian built the temple. Now, how will we know that? Because they found the replica, and the same temple is replicated in Lebanon, which is still standing today, that Hadrian built. Now, go tell me that's not abomination. We have two religions right there destroying. In 167 BC, Antiochus Epiphanes made a temple to Jupiter and offering sacrifice to pig. Sacrifice of pig was conducted the 25th of every month, and his birthday was on the 25th of December. So he forced every town to sacrifice to Zeus and burnt sacrifices and forced them to eat the meat of the pig. They forced the Jews, and he would rip down, just like with Constantine Hadrian, they'd rip down the pants of the babies. If there was a circumcision on the males, they threw the mothers and the women off cliffs onto rocks. Death. And we got Christians today. Well, let's just go eat pig. No big deal. But he declared all things clean. Look, he says those who keep the least of these commandments, those might be considered the least. But nevertheless, that vision of Peter was not about eating food, guys. And I'm not getting into this right now, but it was about the Gentiles were declared clean. They were considered unclean animals. And it's hard for people to understand that, but you read on in Acts, you're going to see. Don't call unclean what I call declared clean. The Gentiles were being filled with the Holy Spirit, and he was saying, you're free to go eat with them. And the washing of hand had nothing to do. It had everything to do with washing your hands before eating bread. I'm just saying. Because just like today, we can think they can put the resemblance of washing your hands as basically you're unclean if you eat foods without washing your hands. The same way today, we wash our hands so we don't eat food with germy hands and get sick, right? Now, in 117 AD, Hadrian came to power. He deceived the Jews into thinking that he would bring peace, when really he was making the headquarters to Jupiter, the temple of Jupiter, when he was really making the headquarters of Jupiter while telling them he was restoring their temple. So imagine how many Jews during that time would have, like, let's join in. Guess what they found out? When the moment they found out that he was building a temple, not to God, but to Jupiter. They thought he was Osiris. They thought that Hadrian was a type of Cyrus restoring the third temple, right? Bar Kokhba revolt, the one that they thought was the Messiah in 132 AD. When they learned the truth, the war broke out completely. And guess what happened? 85 major Jewish towns were destroyed. 580,000 Jewish men were killed and made a decree to kick out all Jews from the land. Now, nevertheless, there's still Jews that reign from all that time, all throughout, but most of them are ones that basically converted to whichever way. And that's what happened when a lot of them were kicked out. They're sent to other nations, Italy, Germany. They're sent to France. They're sent to, many different countries up in Europe. And most of them were forced to convert to either Islam or Catholicism. And that's the way it was. And even today, they're finding in places, for example, Italy, when some of the practice that they're still doing that was happening in the first century, the Jews. And they have lost their way, and they're celebrating the pagan ways and the cultures of other religions. And they're realizing there's a death of a loved one and they're covering their mirrors. Well, then that's because that came from Judaism, right? Yes, I know, rabbinical, but they're finding that all throughout the lands. Who cares about DNA, right? But everybody's so stuck on finding out whether I'm Jewish. I'm about 5% Jewish. I really don't care how much Jewish you are. Either you're a son of God, a woman of God, a child of God, or you're not. You're brother or sister of me if you obey God and you love his ways and you love each other. That's it. Now, Hitler and Hadrian were similar. Go figure. What was something interesting about Hitler? Hitler, basically the Christians, it's not just Catholics, guys. The Christians that we have here in America were the same ones that were shouting Hitler, Hitler, Hitler. Because he was telling them he's going to restore evangelical Christians, and Catholics were shouting Hitler because he's saying he's going to restore the riches and the money in the land. He was showing them his brute and his power, and he was saying that the left was evil. Okay, they were right wing. Now pay attention. He was saying everything fake news, and he was saying that fake news today. He was making an image by controlling his own media because the left controlled the other media. Get where I'm going here? He kept people focused on riches and money. He was a type of Antichrist. Same with Hadrian. Back then, they kept them focused on money and riches. Pay attention. Temple was completed to Jupiter in 135 AD. The statue of himself, of Hadrian, was put on a horse. He was set himself on a horse. Hadrian put a pig carved on marble and signified Jews were subjected to Roman rule. Now, we also seen a lot of Catholic churches that they also have pig carved or like murals sometimes on the walls. And they're also to represent that Jews are to convert to them. They're subjected to their rule. Now, what I'm talking to, I don't care if you're Jew or Christian, whatever you are you subjected to the devil's rule? Are you subjected to the ways of the world, which is misleading you from the ways of God? Now we see Antiochus is commanded to profane the Sabbath, build pagan altars and worship pagan gods with unclean animals. Now the unclean animals are to represent sin, guys. You are to also separate yourself from clean and unclean. Now, not to allow evil, disgusting, unclean things in your tabernacle. In the same way, you're the temple of God. So is unclean things entering your temple right now? Check your mind and check your heart. Check your eyes. What are they wandering after? What is your hands desiring to run after so that you can hold on to? Now, he committed told people to commit unclean sexual acts. Now people just watch porn. and watch it on the Hollywood movies. Just a sex scene. It doesn't do anything to me. Great. And you call yourself clean? To offer pagan incense at their own doorway before they leave their houses, before they even leave their homes. Now today, people are offering the sacrifice of their works, their deeds. God said, remember, Paul said to offer yourself as a pleasing aroma to God, that incense. And I've gotten into it and broken down what it was in the temple, what that represented. The incense before entering the Holy of Holies had to be a pleasing aroma. He told them to violate the laws of Moses. Now, the laws of Moses are not the laws of Moses. They're the laws of God. This is his love letter to all of humanity. What's interesting, guys, if you go back to the time of there we go, drawing a blank, guys. The guy, I forgot the guy's name right now. The man that ruled, that was in their rulership when Yeshua was born, Herod. We also see Herod and you have Pharaoh. Now, both of them, during both times, were trying to abort babies. They're killing babies. Why were they trying to kill babies? To stop the prophets from coming, to stop Yeshua from coming. And the same thing today, we're aborting babies in order to stop what is coming. But guess what? He's already living. So what can you stop? Oh, well, let's try to get people distracted and go after things like bars, circuses, arcades, markets, theater, buying, shopping, selling, eating and drinking, giving in the marriage, doing everything under the sun. Life goes on as usual. Keep them distracted. Keep them focused on what the world has to offer. Keep them focused on the desires of their hearts. And that's why he says in Revelation 17:18 that these things would be destroyed. All commerce, all business, all trade, buying and selling, everything would be destroyed. Now I'm about to break it down. So what does that mean? What was, here, I'll get in that in a few. Just give me a few. Now, he says in the new covenant, they'd write his laws on your heart and put it in your mind. That's the Spirit. Remember, in the very beginning, Genesis, way back in Genesis, he says the Spirit hovered, the Word spoke. There is the Spirit in the Word. And now in John 1, it became flesh. People are like, well, that's new. Jews, if you're watching right now, I'm here to tell you that he appeared as an angel of Adonai to Abraham. How? Maybe he was also a pillar of fire, guys, a burning bush. He came, come on. He says he would baptize you in spirit and fire. Then you also be baptized in water. He destroyed the earth in water. And guess what he's coming back to do? Destroy it by fire. So everything that can be burnt up will be burnt up. And everything that is of the Spirit, that the flesh has been burnt up, will see him for eternal life. The flesh must be burnt. There's nothing of the sin of this flesh that you can hold on to and still claim, I am saved. Either you are born again or you're not. Either you're born of God or you're born of Satan. He came. What is idols? You say, I have no idols today. Your career, your family, your money, your culture. This is about to get deep. Your possessions, your power, your desire for power and approval, fame, success, dreams, goals, your comfort, entertainment, your religion, your politics. Your own nation can be an idol. Your pleasure, yourself, your sports, your money, and your materialisms. So, brother, I don't like what you're telling me right now. I get it. But it's all going to be destroyed. What do you got to hold on to that has any value? What are you striving for that's going to bring you satisfaction? Some of you right now are striving after these things and coming up with another dead end. How is these things going to bring you peace? Do people realize what's coming upon this earth? I've been tossing and turning for the past couple of days, not just because I can't sleep. It's because God is speaking. I'm hearing it. I know how heavy is what is coming upon this earth. and people are not ready. But we're having praise and worship in Washington, D.C. and traveling across the cities. Yeah, a man that has 700,000 net worth. Some sites even say 1 million to 2.5. I don't care about the money, but he's asking for donations. Why doesn't he use his own money to reach the lost? When he's following people like Will Smith and all these other worldly musicians, I'm talking about Sean Few, whoever is doing, let us worship. And I'm going to name it because this is paganism. People are coming to God. Yeah, but they're still watching their TVs. They're still holding on to every single idol I just mentioned. Their life matters more to themselves than God. Those that lose their life will find it. Those that want to follow me must deny themselves, pick up their cross and follow me. That cross is not light. He says, cast your cares and burdens onto him. But a man also is called out of the crowd to help him carry that cross. Are you going to be that man where you say, Jesus did it all. He paid the price. In him, I don't have to. That's disgusting. When you see a man that is disfigured, you can't even tell his face because flesh is hanging off his face. Bones are showing. Blood is leaking and pouring out. A man that can't even see straight. Just pouring out with blood for a sacrifice for you. So what, you can hold on to your stupid riches? But I'm trying to build a business. Maybe you should put it to death. Sacrifice yourself on the altar along with your stupid business. I know people right now in other countries that their business is a place for church. Even right now the government is saying you cannot have church. And you got people over here buying, shopping, and selling, taking their own pleasure. I gave my 10%. Great for you. So is the devil, and he comes every Sunday, every Saturday. Look at here. Antiochus chose a high priest. I'll get back on subject. Antiochus chose a high priest from the tribe of Benjamin. And he was not from Levi. Look at that. He chose his own high priest. And today we have churches choosing their own priests. They're saying, you are worthy. We'll ordain you to put you in the church to preach. Guys, I'm not saying all churches are bad, but a majority, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Because they have idols. They have these idols in their hearts that I just spoke of. They're feeling it in their hearts so that they're not speaking the truth. You see people that look like they're surrendering the emotionalism. Guys, I'm about to say something. I seen something the other day and it just blew my mind. Yes, there's witches that can heal people. I've seen one. There was advertisements for their services. Guys, over 5,000, 5 stars for this person that can heal using witchcraft. 5,000 people and there's like, I'm healed. I'm healed from my disease and sickness. Guys, when I caught Lyme disease, I had a man come to me and say, I know a guy in South America. I went there and I was healed from my Lyme disease. Come with me. No, you can go to hell. I'm not going. I'd rather suffer in all my sickness for the rest of my life. I don't care. I'll get it more if I have to. I'm not surrendering to Satan. None of us are. Unfortunately, people are, look, I can get fame. I can be a best bookseller. I can be rich. Great. Let me do it. I can succeed. I can be, receive a lot of blessings. People tell me you're blessed. What is blessed? He's blessing your ministry. What, riches? I could care less. I want to know if my soul's prospering. Are you wanting to know if your soul's prospering? Now pay attention. Man. Wow. God. Man. Antiochus declared that he was Zeus and a god. Antiochus. He said he was Zeus and God incarnate. And also Jupiter was a representation of Zeus. Those who assimilated to Greek culture were given financial benefits. Look, Do you see what's going on here? Am I the only one seeing this? I know I'm not. Some of you are seeing this. I warned years ago that the man that's going to rise up is going to offer peace to other countries in the terms of means of financial benefits, and every church member be running, woo! Restoration, revival. You're resurrecting dead gods, dead spirits from the dead. He built gymnasiums beside the temple to distract the Jews. And they were reversing their circumcision, guys. Are you reversing your circumcision to go back to the ways of the world? They worked out in gymnasiums naked, so they look at other men. So the Jews were embarrassed for having a circumcision, so they reversed it. What a sad state. God brought this back, and I know I forgot what I was saying just a minute ago. Guys, 5,000 5-stars of witches that were healing people, okay? Now pay attention. I seen another one that said they could give love spells. They can even give blessings, love blessings, blessing spells. They can do riches spells. These things, over 2,000 guys, 5 stars, 4.9 to be exact. This was a services being offered that I found online. I was like, wow. I was shocked. And people were saying, my ex came back to me, or this man or this woman came to me. We had sex last night. I'm like, these are the comments. These are the testimonies, guys. And I came across Amazon. They're selling a candle, of a healing candle, where she casted spells into the candle. So when you light it, it will heal you. And people were saying it was healing them. Do you see what's going on? Many will say, Lord, Lord. Guys, the people that looks like being filled with the Spirit is not always the Spirit. Yes, there's things out there going around, the kundalini, things like that. There's spirits everywhere, okay, guys? And I'm going to speak this. But then I seen another article of a woman in L.A. who has called herself a black witch, and she's healed somebody from stage 4 cancer that was on the deathbed. And the people are shocked, like, how did this happen? Evil will become good. Not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, is a child of God, except those that do the will of the Father. He came not to be served, but to serve. Likewise, are you coming to be served or be served? That's a hard thing, right? Guys, when I go to a church to speak, if I go anywhere, I don't take a single dollar. Brother, how? People will give money and I put it straight into the ministry. It does not go to me. Guys, there's people that are making money going to churches. I don't care, peace offering. I don't care what you try to give me. You're not going to give me money. Keep it for your church. In fact, if people say, I'm going to give you a love offering, it's a sad state when people that are ministers or traveling ministers that go to a synagogue or a church to speak, or a musician, and they give them more offerings than the pastor itself, who might be leading their congregation to holy and righteous living, and they're like, I don't want to give to them, but you can give to some foreigner? Wow. Wow. So what makes you think that you're going to give to God? Somebody gives me a peace offering. Here, pastor, I give it right back. My conscience would not allow me. How you use your money represents how you'll live for God's kingdom. What about the riches he gives you? I'm talking about spiritually. Are you spiritually rich right now, or are you poor? Many of you are physically rich, but you're dead poor, rotten. But some of you guys give. You have more of a heart than me and many. I'm just going to say that. Look at here. In 458, now I'm going to go back to Daniel 9. Look at here. 458 BC, The 33 AD was 490 years. Now, you see that this is going to get into some interesting things. We see that Daniel predicted, this is also, he read things from Isaiah and Jeremiah, right? But also he's trying to figure out what this means. Then Gabriel, the angel, came to him and told him, look, let me explain what this means. And what Daniel was doing was crying out for the people, not just for his own sins, but everybody's sins, the nations. Now, what is very interesting, 490 years, he discerned exactly when the rebuilding of the temple would be, the second temple, and also when the destruction of it would be. He also gave the exact time when the temple would be, or when Messiah would come, and when the exact time he would be cut off. Jews don't want to believe it today, and why? Because there's rabbinical theology from rabbinical Jews that try to do anything they can to negate the coming of Messiah, to mislead you to believe that he wasn't really here. Now, don't just not blame the Jews. There's Christians out there that don't believe his law even matters. The Old Testament's old. We just need a New Testament. Well, you're dead too. You just made yourself a new God, because you can't understand the New Testament without the Old. The Old reveals the New. And what's very interesting is that Jews try to do everything, the rabbinical Jews, and I'm going to say this, that it's not really the Messiah that came. They don't know the exact time when he was actually determining. They try to make it as the period of the first temple and the second temple. During that period, that's what the rabbinical Jews try to teach you. But that's completely a lie. That's completely a lie. So you're going to backtrack the vision of Daniel to the current time period? No, they're trying to do anything they can to disown the true revealing of Messiah so that people don't come. Why? Because they're filled with the devil. Just as there's a lot of Christians that say the law's done away with. We don't need that. That's just for the Jews. We don't need to do that. Okay, so you separate yourself and make a new tree. Great, you just cut yourself off from the olive tree. Dead branch. Shouldn't you be glad you're grafted in? You're grafted into the Commonwealth of Israel. I'm going to come to America and be like, I'm not going to celebrate July 4th. Either are you to become part of Israel and say, I'm not going to keep any of this because that's for the Jews. Maybe you should read Zechariah 14. Anyone that doesn't come with the worship on Sukkot will not receive rain. Now, I'm about to get into that in a few. Now, Daniel 9:27 was a covenant, right? So the covenant, he shall make strong. That's what that means. And it represents the Medes, the Parthians, and the Armenians, where he said he would make a covenant. He made a covenant with them during 70 AD. He shall make strong, strength, stability, and making firm and making sure. So what that means, he would give them stability by also offering financial incentives. Remember, anything that's called a god, it would not be, he put himself over. So including money, anything that is worshiped as a god, and he declare himself to be God. He believed that he is. And what better way to, even now, when you have people declaring different religions, right? Right? Just say Jesus or God and help the Jews and you got it. Until something comes. Now look at here. Daniel's vision happened about, I want to say around 539 BC, I want to say. Now, we also see that transgression means rebel. So when he says they'll transgress the law, right? That means rebel against God's laws. Now, in the same way, his law is spiritual, put inside you, Romans 7, so that his law, right, will be your conscience, your character, your morals, your values, your desires, your actions. You'll have a power of the Spirit to walk it out. The conscience will bear witness of right and wrong. If you're desperate and you really want to walk in the ways of the Spirit, he'll give you that power to overcome that sin and fleshly desires so that you aren't rebelling against what is right. You don't have to go searching for it on top of a mountain. You don't have to go to the top in order to get the commandments and know what is right. It's close to you. He says it will be near. Now, the purpose of the 77s, guys, is first to finish transgression, which means rebellion, to restrain completely, to bring to completion. Second is to make it into sins and to seal up, and which means locked up. Sin means miss the mark, which also means, he said, sinning would cease. People say, well, we all sin and fall short to the glory of God. Yes. But listen, your desire to sin won't be there any longer. You might make mistakes, but you will have a power to turn away from it. You're going to walk in it and feel okay. You're not. He's going to pull you right. It's not going to happen. If you fear God, men will depart from evil. That's what Proverbs says. And if you do fear God healthily, if you love him, you will depart from sin. Now, third is reconciliation for iniquity. Iniquity is the sin nature, which is yetzer hara in Hebrew, which means the evil inclination, your evil desire. What's interesting, guys, reconciliation, and this is in Daniel 9, what I'm reading from. Reconciliation for iniquity means kafar, which means kippur in Hebrew. Make an atonement. So we're denying Messiah when it's right there. I feel my heart cries out for my people, but it cries out for everybody. He says he'd make an atonement. Fourth, to bring in everlasting righteousness. Olam, translated in Hebrew, is age, in this present age. It's the age of righteousness. The age of righteousness where you will do what is holy, righteous, and good, according to him. Which he also, Paul says in Romans, that his law is holy, righteous, and good. But remember, he says it's spiritual. Now, fifth is to seal up vision and prophecy. You're like, oh, does that mean? Listen, prophecy means, what he's talking about here is the final fulfillment. The vision is oral prophecy. Prophecy is written in prophecy. So the final fulfillment in Revelations is that when that will be finished. Completely. Till then, we're going to still, he said in the last days, men will have visions and see dreams, right? This will happen. I think it says the old men will dream dreams and the young will have visions. And that's what it means. So what's very interesting about it is, in the Revelation, I'm going to get this down. So please, this is very important. It's going to help you a lot. Understand what's going on. Now, the sixth was to anoint the most holy, which is the Jewish temple, also when he comes. And the most holy is he when the holiest of holies, not on the earth, but in the right hand of God in heaven, which was a representation or replica of what was on heaven, which was here on earth. Now, I'm going to get into this. Now, if you read here, he says in the last days, men will be running to and from, gaining and receiving knowledge, right? They'll be running to and from. The righteous, many will not understand, but the righteous will shine like the stars forever. And he will reveal many things. He said, seal this up until the last days. In the last days, this will be revealed. The problem, many people can't understand all of Daniel, and they're like, yes, I do, because that means a temple's coming. Okay, yes. According to Ezekiel 40 through 48, those 8 chapters right there show you the descriptions of the temple. Now, when I was in Israel, there's a place, and, I was able to talk to a Jewish man at the wall. He was very surprised. Somebody from America was like, oh, I want to go to the Temple Institute. He's like, he's never been asked that. So what is very interesting is you go to the Temple Institute, they have the exact definitions. He says in the last days that people would bring their riches to Jerusalem. Now, I'll get into that in a minute. And all the Gentile nations. And what's interesting, they have, millions of dollars already that is already preparing for that temple. You're like, but that's Antichrist. I'm about to mess up your whole theology. Pay attention here. In Peter 3:10, he says that everything will be burnt up by fire. Now, what type of people should we be? Now, 1 Peter 3, let me just go in here so I want to read straight from the scriptures here. Now he says, the Lord is not slow in keeping with his promise, as some consider slowness. Rather, he is being patient toward you, not wanting anyone to perish, but all to come to repentance. But the day of the Lord, verse 10, 2 Peter 3:10. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. On that day, the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the elements will melt and disintegrate. And the earth and everything in it shall be exposed. Since all these things shall be destroyed in this way, what kind of people should you be? Live your lives in holiness and godliness. Look at here. Looking for the hastening and the coming of day of God. In that day the heavens will be dissolved by fire, and the elements will melt in the intense heat. But in keeping with his promise, we look for the new heavens and the new earth where righteousness dwells. Now look at here. You notice he says the new heavens and the new earth where righteousness dwells. I'm about to explain this down. You're like, but I'm so confused. How's there going to be a temple built in Ezekiel? Prophecy must be fulfilled. Remember, he says he'd come for 1,000 years. Revelation 19, he says 1,000 years he will reign. This is about to mess it up. He's coming back. Everyone that rises against Jerusalem, not only physical Jerusalem, but spiritual. In those days, every nation will rise, right? Many nations will rise up. So if you have hatred in your heart, you better get rid of that because you're rising against God's people. If you hate the truth, you're rising against God's people. He says you will be destroyed. So don't think, I'm not coming against Israel. I love Israel. Well, you have hatred in your heart. If you hate the truth, then you hate the one who gave truth. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. There's no other way to the heaven except through him. There's only one truth, which was right there in Genesis 1. And if you hate the truth, you become a mocker and scoffer. You wind up in divisions, factions, feuding, arguing, fighting, in ways and disputes about the law, which means you're corrupted in mind. In action, your heart and mind is not right. That's why he says, don't get in those foolish disputes and genealogies about the law. Know that those persons are drowning in sin if you read on. There's no truth in them. God said in the last days, you'd rise up against the truth. People would hate the truth and go after what tickles their ears and get whatever feels good. The emotionalism. Whatever feels good. Now, we see that that's going to happen, but if we read here, this is where it gets even more interesting, right? We're like, but this is so confusing to me. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Brother Todd? Like, I don't get this right now. Well, if you go over to let's go to Zechariah. If you go to Zechariah, you're going to see. Let's go to Zechariah 14. Let's go to the last chapter. I'm going to get another drink, excuse me. Now, behold, a day of Adonai is coming, when your plunder will be divided in your midst. I will gather all the nations against Jerusalem to wage war. The city shall be captured, the houses ransacked, and the women ravished. Half of the city will be exiled, but the remainder of the people will not be cut off from the city. Now, you might have seen where the vision, even when I was in Tel Aviv, he gave me a vision. I've seen it, and to warn the people. And he brought me to here later on. He brought me to here to show me this, what you're seeing. What you're seeing, son, is exactly what I'm showing you right here. And it was very interesting. Because everything that I see, yeah, you might be like, what about China? What about Australia and things like that? Okay, everything in the earth will be burnt up. Everything in the earth will be destroyed. Now pay attention. When he returns, he's coming back as King of the Jews and King of Israel. Not King of the Christians, okay? He's coming back as King of the Jews. So his ways are Jewish. Okay, not the rabbinical. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he didn't come to do away with nothing's wrong with Judaism. What was wrong is there was no power. Yes, there was rabbinical Judaism that wasn't right. But he came to put his spirit in you to complete an old religion, not start a new one. That's going to mess some of you up. But pay attention. He's coming back as all who love him, who are patiently waiting for him. Jew or Gentile, doesn't matter. Are you part of Israel? Are you of God's children? Excuse me. Now look at here. Then Adonai will go forth and fight against those nations as he fights in the day of battle. In that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which lies east of west of the Mount of Olives, and be split in two from east to west. Now what's interesting, there's a fault line right through there. I'm not negating what God's power is. He designed it. There's a reason he chose in Zion. He chose Zion for his resting place, his dwelling place. That's where the threshing floor was. Way back when, the threshing floor was right there. He chose that spot. Where the Dome of the Rock sits, guys, is where the Holy of Holies sat. Interesting. Why did Catholic churches, Constantine, Christianity, and why did the Muslims put something right on top of it? Likewise, why did Hadrian and Titus destroy it right there and build their own idol of themselves right there? Think about it. Now, he will stand on the Mount of Olives. Same way he left the earth is the same way he'll come back. There's a reason why he prayed at the Mount of Olives. Think about it. It will form a huge valley. Half of the mountain will move toward the north and half of it to the south. Then you will flee from my mountain valley, because of the mountain valley will reach to Azael. Yes, you'll flee like you fled from the earthquake in the days of King Uzziah of Judah. There was a huge earthquake. Many people died. Then Adonai, my God, will come, and all the Kedoshim, the holy ones, with him. Look at here. Look at here. Those who died, right? Now keep paying attention. In that day, there will be no light, cold or frost. Interesting. He says no cold or frost. Sounds like we don't know the day or hour, guys. But his holy days do give us signs of the seasons. But look at here. No light, no cold or frost. It will be a day known only to Adonai, neither day nor night. That happened one other time. I forgot what was the occasion, but there's even a representation, or a science proves during that time the sun stood still. With Joshua, I believe. And they actually recorded it back in that time as they go back. The sun, and there's actually a change slightly in time from that moment, ever so slightly. It's very interesting. God's word proves true even when man is a liar. Moreover, in that day, living waters will flow from Jerusalem, half toward the eastern sea, which is the Mediterranean. The Dead Sea, and half toward the western sea, which is the Mediterranean. Both in the summer and in the winter, Adonai will then be king over all the earth. In that day, Adonai will be Echad, and his name Echad, which is one. A theocratic government. There's none of this. No, there's no voting, guys. Sorry to break it to you, capitalists. There's no voting. There's only one God, one king, one ruler. If you hate the Jews, bye-bye. If you hate God's laws, bye-bye. You watch your TV in Hollywood, bye-bye. Rising against him right now. You love your money and business and trade, your house and your cars, bye-bye. I didn't say it. He said, read Revelation 17:18. He said it. The whole land from Geba to Rimmon, south to Jerusalem, will become like their Arabah. Jerusalem will be raised up and occupy her place from the Benjamin gate to the place of the first gate, to the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananel to the king's winepress. People will dwell in her, and no longer will there be a band of destruction. Jerusalem will live in security. But remember, when people are saying peace, peace and security, sudden destruction will come. It's happening right now. We're in that place, guys. No other time was there ever a time where he said peace, peace, and security to all the nations. Wait a second. No other time did people understand each other's language like we do today. In fact, there's even an app that has Babbel. That's called Babbel to learn people's language. Imagine that. We are coming back as Babel right now to Tower of Babel because we're trying to build our own tower. That's what they're doing. Not trying to make a name for God, but for their own selves, what they built, what they're doing, their work. By their own righteousness in order to get to heaven. That does not work. You cannot climb your own way to heaven, nor can you enter a different way into the gate. There's only one way. The gate is narrow. The path to destruction is wide and broad. Many find a broad path, but very few find that narrow gate. Likewise, you cannot build your own tower because you'll be deceived. Likewise, people think that they're understanding each other. But do you understand the Spirit of God and what is true? In later days, just as those that hated Hitler, remember, there's Protestant Christians, evangelical Christians, and Catholics, all cheering Hitler on. You're like, how did that happen? They sat there, some very few opposed. One was Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He opposed him. Guess what happened to him? He was put and killed. So will it be in the days ahead. You will have underground churches. You'll have to do things in secrecy. Why do you think these mass ideas are being implemented, guys? You can't have more than 10 in a home in New York City. Police came to a home of Jews and told them that they need to leave, ready to arrest them. You're going to have snitches appearing to be holy. They're going to be a Judas telling on you. Well, they're not being safe because they're not wearing masks. Well, good. Maybe if you wore a mask over your heart, then you would be covered from sin. I'm just saying, guys, what is coming is going to be very bad. I warn over and over again, when people are peace, peace, prosperity, 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 success, goals, dreams. People are cheering right now for, I don't care, no matter who wins the presidential election, my vote's not there, guys. I don't care. My vote's for him. I don't have anything to praise in this world. That's why I say, there's one or two ways I'm going to tell you. Biden, they're both working together. I don't care what anybody says. Maybe you should watch the videos of what one said back in the 70s, 80s. What I'm here to say, guys, I'm not here to tell you what to vote. I'm not telling you this. I don't really care. Do what you want to do. I'm not telling you. But what I've said, even to a good friend, even when we're out, when you see Biden signs everywhere, you already know, ultimately, completely hate God's laws. Hate his ways completely. I mean, support abortion, support everything lawless. They have a Trump sign in their yard. What are they doing? Love money. Break it to you. It's the truth. Why is everybody shouting? Because they want to make sure they get better jobs and better retirement. In fact, you're not serving God, but your belly. The whole land, okay. People will dwell in her. No longer will there be abandoned destruction. Jerusalem will live in security. Now, this is the plague with which Adonai will strike all the people that wage war against Jerusalem and also God's people. Their flesh will rot away while standing on their feet. Their eyes will rot in their sockets. Some people say, well, this is nuclear weapons. I don't know. He says a plague. So I don't know. That's maybe considered plague. I don't know. And their tongues will rot in their mouth. And in the same way, there's Egyptians that had a bacteria that was like gonorrhea, and it did eat away. But I'm just saying, there's evidence out there. It will happen in that day that a great panic from Adonai will be among them. Each person will seize the hand of his neighbor, and they will attack each other. Nation rising against nation. Even Judah will fight at Jerusalem. The wealth of their own people will fight against each other. Make sure that you're in God. I beg you. Make sure you're walking in his faith with him. Each person, look, the wealth of the surrounding peoples will be gathered together. Look at here. an abundance of gold, silver, and apparel. Look, nothing of yours is going to be yours. Everything is going to be brought. Meaning all your desires. A similar plague will strike the horse, the mule, and the camel, and the donkey, and all the animals in that camp. Then all the survivors from all the nations that attack Jerusalem will go up from year to year to worship the King, Adonai Zavaot, and celebrate Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles. Furthermore, if any nation does not go up on the earth, does not go up to Jerusalem to worship the King, Adonai Zavaot, there will be no rain. No blessing, guys. You'll die. If the Egyptians do not go up and celebrate, there you go. The Egyptians, remember he said it was spiritually Sodom and Egypt. It's a type of spirit, guys. He said that Sodom will be destroyed. And everyone who's like them, it will be destroyed. Also here, he's saying, Egypt, do not go to celebrate. They will have no rain. Instead, there will be a plague that Adonai will inflict on the nations that do not go up to celebrate Sukkot. This is not the Jesus I know. Well, sorry, you got fed of the wrong one. And let me guess, you're probably in Washington, D.C. Hi, my grace, grace. This is killing me. This will be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that do not go up to celebrate Sukkot. And that day, holy to Adonai will be inscribed on the bells of the horses. Remember, it was on the forehead too. Holy to Adonai. Will be inscribed on the bells of the horses, and the pots of the house of Adonai will be like the sacred bowls in front of the altar. In fact, every pot in Jerusalem and Judah will be holy to Adonai Zavaot, so that everyone who comes to sacrifice will take them and cook in them. And that day there will no longer be a Canaanite. Look at that. Who knows the spirits of the Canaanites? Baal and Asherah, guys. If you don't know what the worship was, I read the idols just earlier. In the house of Adonai Zavaot. So he's saying there will no longer be any foreign gods. There will only be one way to worship, one theocratic government. And imagine how many people are going to say, well, wow, I can't worship just one man. I don't like what he's saying. Okay, then you're going to die. But you say, but how does this work? Well, again, he says that one will be taken, one will be left behind. You want to be left behind. Because he says that those that will be removed, and words weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. Now, what I'm here to say, the wicked are going to be removed. They're going to be destroyed. And Peter, he says, everything will be burnt by fire. Now, he says in the 1,000-year reign and the millennial reign, and I'm just saying this is what the Bible is saying. I mean, you may have a different belief. That's okay. I'm not saying I have it all figured out, but I'm just saying what I see. He's going to come back to establish his kingdom on the earth for 1,000 years. That's why people are asking me, why is there children? Why is people still having children? Why is God still telling people to have children? Because there's going to be a holy remnant that's going to be here. There's going to be people here that is going to be after him. He's going to lock Satan up for 1,000 years. So nobody will have an excuse. Well, he made me do it. Guess what happens after the 1,000-year reign, guys? It's just like Adam and Eve. Right? They were living 800 plus years. They're living a long time. But then that started going down after the flood. It trickled down to, no, you won't live longer than 120 years? Tell me how many people live longer than 120 years. I mean, there's a very select few. Less than 0.01%, maybe less than that. And what's interesting, guys, is that will go back up. So people will live longer. Makes sense? He says after the 1,000 years, it says in Revelation 19, it says, three times, I want to say, that it says 1,000 years. You can say literal or not. I don't know. But I would prefer to take it as literal. You know, yes, there's a day to God is like 1,000 years. But that's the thing. It says 1,000 years 3 times. And in Greek, that was 1,000 years. So that was a vision he gave to John. Now, what's very interesting, guys, is after those 1,000 years, he says that Satan would be released. Now, I also tell people we don't know what time we're in. So instead of worrying about these things, be ready at all times. But he'd be able to deceive the nations one last time. Then after that, there's hell. So what's interesting is that after the 1,000 years, he says, then the new heavens and the new earth, the new heavens and the new earth, where there'll be no crying, no more tears, no more pain, no more sorrows. I'm just saying this is what the Bible says. I'm not an expert, guys. But you can go read it. And it might mess some of you up in your theology, but this is what I'm believing. And, you know, twinkling of an eye, we will be transformed and be like him. We will be. We will be. But the rebellious will die. He's already said it. The rebellious will be removed. There's going to be great devastation. You're like, what about 2 Peter 3:10? Because the elements of the earth, if the earth tilts on 90 degrees, imagine what's going to happen. He says the elements will be dissolved and the sun will scorch the earth, basically, is what he says will happen. So if it shakes, he's come back with shaking. One last time we shake everything that can be shaken. That's, I want to say Hebrews 12. We'll be shaken one last time. So anything that can remain, which is spiritual, will remain. And the things that are of the flesh and of the world will not remain. The things and the elements in it will be burnt up and dissolved. So what kind of people should we be? Righteous and holy, living to God. That's what he says. So he will have to establish the earth. It's renewed. When he says new, it doesn't mean it's new. It's renewed, guys. But at the end, he says a new heaven and a new earth that will be new. Well, the former things will pass away, guys. And blessed are those. That's why those that die in the Lord will not be in the second judgment. That's what this word says in Revelation. They'll not be in the second judgment, that there's two, what I'm saying is two judgment. So those who die, especially through the times that are coming in the days ahead, stop looking for a temple, guys. And I'm about to talked about that in a minute. Those who are, this is what I'm saying, that when he returns, those that are made in his image will be like him. But those who die during the days ahead, they're going to come back on the clouds with him. Makes sense? He said the dead in Christ will rise first. Then after that, everybody will be caught up with him. You see what I'm saying? And it said you'll be transformed. You'll be like him. Makes sense? There's just messing some people up. Don't be afraid to die. What's coming? There's going to be people who are going to be living until they see his coming. That's why he says that. There'll be some that will be living until they see my coming. Some won't die. But if you're destined to go to the sword you'll go. If you're destined to go to captivity you'll go. If you're destined to be here until he comes back, then that's what's the destined for you. That's what he predestined for you. And all things seek his will. Don't be afraid of death unless you got sin in your life. So, I get it. Some of us are going to sit here and think, God, but do you truly love me? Are you truly here? Yes, he's going to be here for you. He made a promise. If he delivered you from sin, that's his promise. You couldn't do that on your own. There's people that escape. I overcame drug addiction or alcohol for 2 years in rehab. Then you go right back to it. I don't know anybody that has overcome it by their own flesh without going back. Unless they have the power of the Spirit within them. I'm just saying, if you know that God is for you, who can be against you? If you know you're broken from sin and you're taken out of the desires and the lusts and the passions of this life, the things that once brought you pleasure and joy no longer do. They're no longer peace and happiness, then God is for you. That's how you know. And if he's calling you, as long as he's knocking, he's telling you, open that door and allow him in. He wants to cleanse you. He wants to cleanse whatever is unrighteous within you. But he can't if you still desire in your heart for that sin. You're wondering, why can't I overcome sin? You want to know why you can't overcome sin? Because you love your sin more than you love God. And that's the whole truth. That's the cold truth. You have to be desperate. You have to be desperate. He says, return to me with weeping, lamenting, fasting, right? And if that's not you, you're not ready. You're like, but I fasted. But you're still thinking about food. You're still thinking about things in this world. If you're desperate, you'll die only him. I'm telling you, why does it say fast? Because you're going to come to a point of complete tiredness, weariness, just done with yourself. Where you're going to cry out on your face and your hands and knees. You're going to cry out to God, I don't want to live anymore unless you deliver me from this sin. Let me know that you're real. Whatever it takes, let me be delivered. He's going to deliver you. He is faithful to cleanse you from all unrighteousness if you confess it, but it must be with a pure heart, not just confessing with your mouth. Yes, those confess with your mouth will be saved, but you must turn. I'm going to read something else here before I'm about to wrap up here, guys. Look, I love you all. And I know what I'm speaking is not easy. But you don't know how much God has torn me down in order to use any part of, this is somebody as world, just fleshly as me. I'm no one special, guys. But man, he's brought me through the depths of what I feel like on earth is hell. You must deny yourself and pick up your cross and follow him. Otherwise, you're not going to get it. My life might be a little different than some of yours. I get it. But this is what God has planned for me, and you got to know what he's planned for you. It could be in those last days, some of you are going to go to captivity. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm prophesying right now because I'm telling you. Some of you are going to be there, guys. Some of you are going to get captured. Some of you watching right now are going to be captured. You're going to be faced with a decision. You're going to be brought before judges and people and powerful people. You're going to be brought before people that hate you, want to beat you and spit on you. They're going to try to get you to deny the belief in Yeshua, Jesus. And if you are not well rooted on a solid foundation with the building supplies of his word that he's given you, and the prophets and men of God that are trying to lead you to righteousness, they're trying to build that up to draw you close to him so that he may build on that, then you are not going to make it. It has to be by faith. Everything must be built on the solid foundation, the solid rock by faith. You must trust in these words and know that what he's given you will bring you the everlasting life. Just as it raised Lazarus from the dead, just as he's raised from the third day, it'll also raise you. If you have eyes to see, you are seeing. If you have ears to hear, and you're humble and growing not in pride but in humility, you are hearing and seeing. He said in the last days, people will see but not see, hear but not hear. He will take the wisdom from the wise, those of the discerning, he'll take the discernment from. Those that believe to be righteous are not righteous. You got to know that your righteousness is only found in him and through him. In those days, some of you are going to be taken to captivity, guys. And you're going to lead people to God in those moments. You've got to know. In those moments, people are going to turn and repent from their sins. I'm going to tell you right now. It's going to be a time where you're going to have to go out with everything. Some of you know that endurance it takes. Some of you have played sports. Some of you did other things, worked hard in business, they climbed that career ladder, worked hard in college. You've done so much hard effort and energy. Make sure you put that into God. In those last days, there's going to be people that are going to be trembling with fear, but you're going to be at peace. And I'm teaching you right now so that even though it sounds like he's bringing fear, he's provoking fear, all these visions and dreams that he's having is provoke fear. It's not to provoke fear, guys. Unless you're still in the flesh. And those that hate me and those like me, they're turning from us and they're going into emotionalism. And they're being handed over to the destruction and the deceptions of this life so that their focus is not on God and leading people to him, but on the ways of the world. So they're already dead. They're full, demon possessed. and unable to break free. They're walking in darkness and no longer the light. So make sure you're not boasting in your Sabbath keeping, your holy days, because I'm telling you, these days are going to matter when the destruction comes. You are going to be taking pictures of your cedar plates. Makes sense. Either he's tabernacling amongst you right now or not at all. Build your sukkahs all you want. Guys, this stuff is good, okay? But don't let that be your focus. You're not more righteous than the drug addict and the tax collector and the drunkards and the prostitutes. Some of them are closer to the kingdom than some of us, sadly, that profess to be righteous. You're going to be there to help people in those last moments. Some of you are going to even be put to death, but don't deny him. Don't deny him. You know what happened in communist China when they said a pre-trib rapture was going to happen? But you're like, that's China, that's not America. Come on, guys. You had American pastors going to communist China saying there's going to be pre-tribulation rapture. If you believe in Jesus, you will not go through a tribulation. Guys, stop focusing on tribulation. The tribulation, we're here. We're here. But there's going to be 7 years. Guys, pay attention. Pay attention. Look at here. You all have to know something. Those people in communist China, they denied Yeshua when the gun was at their head. They denied Jesus, and they denied the faith altogether. Many people are still killed anyway, and those that lived, they didn't continue in the faith. You got to make sure that you're built on the solid rock, guys. Those who endure until the end will be saved. Yeshua says it. Jesus says it. But I'm here to tell you, some of you God is going to lead to certain places. And it's going to be a safety place where God is going to protect the people, just like the Exodus. He's going to protect his people, and they're going to be in the place, what is called the wilderness. Some of you are going to discern what I'm saying right now. And that wilderness is going to be a place of protection where other people are going to gather. He's going to gather small communities, guys. And some will be larger than others, some will be smaller. And what these communities are going to be is going to just be like the times of Exodus. They're going to be hanging out, tents, guys, things like that, just like in the days of Exodus. And hey, guys, if you're trying to prepare all these things, like how much do I need? Just stop. If God's telling you to prepare, but don't be fleshly about it out of fear, thinking you're going to preserve your life. Because some people right now, he's telling you, you're going to go to the sword. Some people he's saying, you're going to go to captivity. Some of you may be released, some of you may die. But I'm here to tell you, we need to prepare. And a pastor that's not preparing it, they're speaking of false grace, because all they're going to tell you, grace, grace, grace. Listen here. Ezekiel 13, this is where I'm going to go here. The word of Adonai came to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy concerning the prophets of Israel who are prophesying. Say to those prophesy out of their own heart. Hear the word of Adonai. Thus says Adonai Elohim, woe to the foolish prophets who follow their own spirit. This is what's going on in the church. The one's shouting revival, guys. And it looks like it's true revival because there's many gathering. I've already warned this years ago. Except after their own spirit, except they see nothing. O Israel, your prophets have been like jackals among your ruins. If you claim to know Jesus Yeshua, you're Israel, okay? You're accepting the covenants. That's covenants of Christians. Guys, there's many covenants in the Bible, okay? There's a Davidic covenant. There's a Noahide covenant, Abraham covenant. There's different covenants, right? But all these covenants, he keeps his promises. In fact, if he didn't, why would we see a rainbow? He promised never to flood the earth again. He kept his promise. But he didn't say he would not destroy the earth by fire. Your prophets have been like jackals among ruins. You have not gone up to the breaches and repaired the walls of the house of Israel. As the walls of Israel in your house, the breaches repaired. Is it repaired in your hearts, or are the snakes entering the gaps and planting seeds that's growing weeds in your heart? The walls of the house of Israel stand in the battle in the day of Adonai, and the day of Adonai is coming. You're not preparing your walls. They have prophesied emptiness and predicted falsely. Look at this, emptiness, empty words. Predicted falsely, who say, Adonai says, Adonai has not sent them, yet they hope for confirmation of their word. Did they not see an empty vision and speak a false omen? They say to you, Adonai says, when I have not spoken. Guess what they're saying? Peace, grace. Therefore, thus says Adonai Elohim, because you have spoken falsely and prophesied lies, therefore, behold, I am against you. It's a declaration of Adonai, my hand will be against the prophets who see false visions and lying divinations. They will not remain in the assembly of my people, nor will they be recorded in the register of the house of Israel. That's also, guys, that can represent the book of the Lamb's book of life. Nor enter the land of Israel, nor not enter his kingdom. Many will try knocking, but it's going to be too late. You will know that I am Adonai precisely because they have led my people astray, saying, Shalom, peace. When there is no shalom, no peace, they build a weak wall. Look at this. Build a weak wall. Behold, they plaster it over with whitewash, just like he told the Pharisees. The Pharisees believed they were righteous. They covered it with whitewashed tombs, but inside they're dead bones. Those were the tombs that were outside the walls of Israel, of Jerusalem. They plaster it, make it look pretty and white, but inside their dead bones, right? There will be a downpouring of rain. Look at here. And on you, great hailstones will fall. I'm not speaking of false visions, guys. This is right here in the words. I didn't even read this. God just told me to go right here, right now. And on you, great stones will fall, and a storm wind will break out. Behold, when the wall has fallen, will it not be said about you, where is the whitewash that was plastered with it? Guys, do you see what's coming? Like that was back in the... Therefore says Adonai Elohim, I will cause a storm. I said long ago, a storm is coming. Rabbi Greg Hirschberg this morning says storm is coming. Guys, these things are coming. Wilkerson is even, Ravenhill, both, they have said storm's coming, storm's coming. Storm wind to burst out in fury. There will be downpouring of rain in my anger and great hailstones and destructive wrath. Remember, in Revelation it says 100-pound hailstorms, and people still curse God and still didn't repent from their sins. I said it right now. These destructions would come, these plagues. It's going on right now across the world, and we just rebuild. We're going to make more money. How many hurricanes have come to New Orleans and in Louisiana and those areas? We just rebuild. Great. Just rebuild. The wall is no more. The whitewash are no more. Oh, I will spin my wrath against the wall and against those who plastered it with whitewash. I will say to you, the wall is no more. The whitewashers are no more. The prophets of Israel who prophesied to Jerusalem and see visions of shalom, of peace. Look at here. For her. Right now, we're saying peace for America. That's what's revival, revival, revival. They're saying peace is coming. That's why they're praising a president, a leader. No matter who gets in, they're praising him. When there is no shalom, it's a declaration of Adonai. Guys, you're not going to find me in the White House unless you drag me there. I'm not going to any man of power unless God told me to go and say a word. I'm not going. The only thing that they're going to try to do is try to seduce you and mislead you to believe what they want or try to mislead you into another way. I'm not doing it. I'm not going. God said, do not go in their way. I'm going to obey him, I'm not obeying man. Saying, thus says Adonai Elohim, oi to the women who sew magic charms on their wrists and make veils for every size for their heads in order to ensnare souls. This is going on today. You hunt down the souls of my people, but preserve yourselves. You have profaned me among my people for handfuls of barley and crumbs of bread. Barley and crumbs of bread, look at here. To kill those who should not die and save those who should not live by lying to my people who listen to lies. They're killing those who are being brought out, who should not die. And they're saving those that should not live, which are sinful. That's what the women are doing, just as the men were doing back then. They're putting to death the souls. He says, do not fear those that can kill the flesh, but those that can kill the flesh and the soul and cast you both into Gehenna or to hell. Guys, for those that are like, well, hell, listen, God says eternal forever and ever. That's what he says. Gehenna is a physical representation in the valley. In the valley, guys, right outside Jerusalem, there's a valley there. And there, you'll see tombs there where they put tombs. Because why did they put tombs there? Because they put tombs there because they believe that they will be the first ones to enter the kingdom when they get resurrected. They know the word, but they still deny the Messiah that came was to be cut off and live. Then he's going to return. They whitewashed those tombs. The same way they used to burn their children and sacrifice them in the valley of Gehenna, right? Right there, they would burn it. That was considered hell. It was a physical representation as everything is as a spiritual. They were burning and sacrificing children. Some of you are sacrificing your children, worried about abortion right now, but yet you're sacrificing because you're so busy on your stupid money and job. Yelling for a dead president, that just like all those that are on the money. Dead presidents. I'm telling you, respect your leaders, but they're not God. I don't care what anybody says. And those shouting him are shouting Messiah. They're not shouting for the true Messiah to return. Therefore, this is Adonai Elohim. Behold, I am against your magic charms. Remember, he said that there was the divination, basically sorcery. Your sorcery was a Revelation 18. Your sorcery. And all those deceived by it. Businesses and all those things were related to sorcery. All those that fell after and drunk the whore of Babylon's cup. Is this making sense? I will tear them from your arms. I will deliver the people you hunt like birds. I will tear off your veils and deliver my people from your hands. They will never again be in your hand to be hunted. So you will know that I am Adonai because you have discouraged the hearts of the righteous with your lies. When I have not grieved him and strengthened the hands of the wicked so that they may not return from his wicked way and live. Grace, peace. What's going on today? He says his righteous will be delivered. But those that love the ways of darkness and not the ways of light, that don't love the truth, but delighted in wickedness, they follow after man of lawlessness, which is the beast, the man rising up in 2 Thessalonians 2. That's what he's representing. When I have not grieved him and strengthened the hands of the wicked so that he may not return from his wicked ways and live. Therefore, you will no longer see false visions or utter lying divinations again. I'll deliver my people out of your hand and then they'll know that I am Adonai. That's Revelation again. It's right there, guys. And ladies, it's right there. God is going to come back. And I want you guys to know that he loves those that are patiently waiting for him. He's saying, well, I find hope. And if you're feeling weak right now, you're like, I just feel like, what's the point? What's the use anymore? Guys, I do want to give you hope. I do want to give you hope. He also says that those are patiently waiting for him. He says you will not drink from this vine again until you see my return. In the same way that vine is growing in Israel right now. Many years ago, centuries ago, that vine was not there because it was a deserted wasteland. You couldn't grow anything. It was like the Dead Sea. He says when he returns, the Dead Sea will be blooming life. Why is there some fish in the outer skirts? Some of the sea, the fresh water is coming into some of the Dead Sea in Israel. And it will burst forth life. The Galilee was always represented life. And why do you think he came from those regions, right? And it trickled down and it goes to the Dead Sea. The Jordan goes to the Dead Sea and there's no life. It's dead. But that will bear life when he returns. That's what it says in Zechariah, the streams from Jerusalem, the east to the west, from the Mediterranean to the Dead Sea will burst forth life. It will come forth life. You will know when he returns, guys. You will know. How do you know? Because I said there's going to be a temple that's going to be rebuilt when Yeshua returns. But hear what I'm saying. That's the Antichrist. Listen, guys, you got to get that out of your head. He's going to rebuild a temple. Guys, the abomination was 70 AD. Yes, a physical representation of what can happen in the future, but Antichrist have come. If you're not sure, if you're just coming in on this video, go back. I'll put this on YouTube soon so that you can learn what I'm saying. This is very important. It will help you grow in faith. When he returns, the Mount of Olives will split from east to west. You'll know because there will be a big army. Righteousness will dwell. The Torah will renew. It will be the ruler of the world. It's not going to be the Noahide laws, guys. So don't get deceived by the rabbinical councils. It's not going to be the 10 Commandments, guys. So don't get deceived by the Christians saying 10 Commandments. It's going to be his laws, his rulings, judicial, government, his moral. All those laws will be there for rule and reign for eternity, guys. Till the 1,000-year reign, until eternity. Blessed are those found coming when he returns, when he's found doing what God has commanded them to do. They're taking care of each other. They're building up the body. That's not trying to tear down but build up. You are a piece of his temple, so you're either building that temple, guys, where he is the cornerstone, or you're not. God is full of life. He's a life giver. And you will be like, if you're the Dead Sea, you'll be brought to life, guys. Don't be like the Dead Sea. Be a life giver. Just as he is. Just as he's given life in you, he will do it on the last day. He's the living water and the bread of life. Those that trust in him will never perish. Those will never go hungry or thirsty. Those will never die. The Pharisees couldn't understand it. What is he saying? Those will never die. Those will never die. So what is he saying? They won't die. Because he's saying your soul will never die. It will never go where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth forever and ever. You will live for eternity, guys. Your soul will never perish. And it's sad today when people say that hell is a place of a washing cycle, like a washing cycle. Jews and Catholics believe that. Even Muslims believe it. You go to a place, even Jews say you won't go there for more than 12 months. What kind of nonsense and stupidity is that? And you can't go through punishment for more on a Shabbat. Okay, great. Just throw it all out. And they can't even see Yeshua Jesus. Christians, Jews, and many. Catholics and even Muslims. They all believe that there's a place of like purgatory where you go through punishment for a year. No more than a year. Then you'll eventually make it to heaven. Wow. That's just deny Messiah altogether. Throw out the Torah because man's words mean more than God's. There is a hell, he says, where we're weeping and gnashing of teeth forever and ever. It's not a place where you're just going to vanish. A soul cannot be destroyed, guys. It cannot be destroyed. The valley of Gehenna was represented hell. It does was a physical representation where the fire burnt. They burnt their trash. They burnt their trash and the babies. The wicked were also burned, guys. It's forever and ever. There is a physical place. He had to make a physical place for Satan. That's why he says they'll be locked up in hell for this 1,000 years and released. Why is he released? I don't know. Test people. He wants to make sure there's going to be people after his own heart. These people right now, why are we having kids? Guys, you'll see. Look at here. When you had finished breakfast, John 21, Yeshua said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said to him. You know that I love you. He said to him, feed my lambs. He said to him again a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord. He said, I know that I love you. He said to him, take care of my sheep. He said to him a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was grieved. Remember, Peter denied him 3 times, and he's asking him 3 times again. Look at here. Peter was grieved because he said to him a third time, do you love me? And he said to the Lord, you know everything, and you know that I love you. You should have said to him, feed my sheep. Everyone, this goes for all of us. We're to feed each other, love one another, as he has loved us. Guys, we're going to need each other in these last days. These days ahead are going to be hard, and I want to make sure that you endure until the end. I'm not just giving you, speaking empty promises. These are things that I believe because I know what I've been delivered from. You have to know what you've been delivered from. Amen, I tell you, when you were younger, you used to dress yourself and walk wherever you wanted. When you grow old, you'll stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you and carry you where you do not want to go. Look at, this is how we should follow it. Now this he said to indicate what kind of death Peter was going to glorify God. You go to death, guys, to glorify God's name. You go to captivity, glorify his name. You live right now to glorify his name. You live, eat, and drink to glorify his name. You work to glorify his name. Everything you do, you glorify his name. For one another, to build each other up, you glorify his name. Peter, turning around, sees the disciple following. This is the one whom Yeshua loved, whom also had reclined against Yeshua's chair at the cedar meal and said, Master, who is the one who is betraying you? Seeing him, Peter said to Yeshua, Lord, what about him? Stop worrying about. Yeshua said to him, if I want him to remain until I come, what is it to you? You follow me. In the same way he's telling you right now, you follow me. Don't worry about anything else. This peace he lives you, nothing else. Is that peace enough, or are you still seeking blessings? Is his love and his grace not enough that you want more? Are we going to be like those children in Egypt? I said, this is not enough. We're not satisfied with manna. We want more. And we want to go back to Egypt. Therefore, this the saying went out among the brothers and sisters that this disciple would not die. But Yeshua did not say to him that he would not die. But if I want him to remain until I come, what is it to you? This is a disciple who is the eyewitness, and these things I wrote to these things. We know the testimony is true. There are also other things that Yeshua did. If all of them were to be written one by one, I suppose that not even the world itself will have room for the books being written. That 1,000-year reign, guys. Even for eternity. And those right now are going to be with him for eternity. We're going to be with him. It says healing waters will come out of Jerusalem, guys. And people will come to it and be healed. They'll come to him and be healed. This is what we're striving for. This life is not for us. And we know that when he appears, we'll be like him. And it's not comfortable for some things that we're going through right now. But he says what we're going through. He's shaping and molding us, guys. But when he appears, we'll be like him and know him for who he is. We'll not shriek back with fear at his coming and try to hide ourselves in the rocks. And we don't want to be like those. Because God is faithful and his word is true. He said he's throw death and Sheol, the grave, into the lake of fire. The lake of fire, this is the second death. The lake of fire. And if anyone was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire. You either have the seal of God or you're still loving the world. He says that the beast and the false prophets are too and shall be tortured day and night forever and ever. That means eternity, guys. And everybody guys, you know that you have professed. You know that you are in God. If he has made you new, you are going to be the new heavens and the new earth, guys. You're going to be like him when he appears. You're going to enter his new Jerusalem. You're going to be with him forever and ever. But if you're still living in this flesh, I know, guys, there's times we fall short, but we must overcome this flesh. That desires, that passions will be done with. The former things will pass away. These things should be passing away right now. It should not be ruling in our flesh. That's why in Daniel, he even says that it was to bring in everlasting righteousness. It was to make an end to sin, to seal up. Lock up means sin means to miss the mark. But sinning will cease. Yeshua came down. We try to work our way to get to God. But Yeshua came down as a way to become the man. No other religion or other belief does that. And there is only one way, guys. And God came down to save us from all sin. And he's coming back once more to deliver those who are patiently waiting for him, not found, living in the world, loving the world, and in sin. I love you all. And I'm going to continue to pray for each one of you. If you need anything, just please don't hesitate to ask. I just want you all to stay encouraged. And glory to God. Have peace, guys. Enter his rest. Look, I love you all. And if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. Do everything we can to be here for you. And lift you up. If you feel like God is speaking to you right now, like I'm just not right with God. I'm just not right with you, God. I know something is wrong. You're going to have to get on your hands and knees. You're going to have to get on your hands and knees. You're going to have to cry out. And I'm going to tell you, he's going to save you. Some of you are hearing this right now, and by faith, you're going to know. You're going to be in the kingdom with him forever. But don't give it up. Don't give up that fight. Don't give up the crown of life that he's going to reward those that love him. You are very welcome. I love you all. I love you all greatly. And let's be patient, guys. Things are going to get chaotic. It's going to get rough. It's going to be just interesting, but God is going to give us power to get through this. And we're all going to be here. Everybody's going to be here for one another in these days ahead. And I know it. God has said it, and he's going to gather many people together. I love you. I love you guys. Keep me in prayer. Keep all of us in prayer as I continue to keep you all in prayer. May God bless you all, and he be with you, each one of you, and may he give you his peace always, from now until his coming. His kingdom come, his will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and that kingdom is coming. A kingdom is coming, but we're going to go through some hard times. I'm telling you guys, no rapture. No rapture. Be ready to endure until the end. And you hear this right now, you have a peace. You know it's true. We're not going to receive a more special treatment than anybody else. If Yeshua went to death, exactly. I love you all. God bless you all, and may God continue to enrich you and bless you, each one of you. Reveal his heart to each one of you as we continue to grow closer to him until he returns. What a beautiful day it will be. But let's get alone, guys. Get each other's numbers if you can. Be brethren to each other, sisters, brothers. Hold one another accountable. Don't be a burden to one another. There's a time when we all struggle, but don't be that burden that struggles with something 24/7. Find joy in God, but also be in anguish many times. We need both. Psalms, it says in the morning, he's filled with joy. At night, he cries. Right? And that's the representation of how we should be. Just in the fall feast and the spring feast, we fall and we raise. We die and we bear fruit. We die and bear fruit. That's a representation all the time. And that's how we are to be every day of our life. Daily renewing our minds. God is coming. And he's not going to delay. And I'm telling you, it's hour when we least expect it. Peace, peace, prosperity, guys. We're here right now. Whether it's tonight or 20 years, doesn't matter. He's coming. He's coming. I love you all. You all get together, message each other. And this is why we're trying to get everybody together. I love you all.